All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our webinar, Doing Business in the New Normal. I hope we come to everybody safe and ready to listen to our panelists. We've got a great group this morning. I am Kelly DeFogio. I'm VP of Sales and Marketing for Yarn and Loom and the current ITA president. The ITA is a nonprofit organization that supports textiles, leather, and trim. We're most known for our fabric show that we put on twice a year. And we like to support our membership with the textile shows, education, and connections. I'd like to thank IMC partnering with them to present this webinar this morning. And our moderator, I'd like to introduce well-known gentleman in our industry, definitely well-liked, Jack Edgar. He is the Senior Vice President of the Krypton Companies. He's also a former board member and former president of ITA and a current committee chair of the Education Foundation. So welcome everybody to our webinar. And Jack, I'm going to send it on over to you.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for the great introduction. I think I've passed the first test of a great moderator in the look at the panel. One of the qualifications was finding people all smarter than me, and I've accomplished that. Now, some people will tell you that's not a very lofty goal, but I think we have a great panel. And when we tried to pick the group, we tried to have somebody from each touch point of our distribution network. And we've done that exceptionally well. So we've gone from a retailer into a furniture manufacturer, into mill owners, into distributors. So we've really got, I think, everything covered. The other thing that I was thinking about as preparing for this is, as this industry, we can only succeed when all of us succeed. The unique challenge is that we can't draw from what's happened in the past, which is always a good lesson in business, but you can't do it here because this has never happened in our lifetime. So what that means is the business leaders, like the quality of the people that we have on our virtual table today, are going to lead the economic recovery. And the strategies and the resiliency of all of these leaders will determine the trajectory of this recovery. So guys, it's a lot of pressure. I hope you're all up to it, because I'm not sure any of us can stand a much longer recovery than we've already done. So the way that we're going to talk about this, first I'm going to introduce the panel and then talk about the structure of the way we're going to handle this. So I'm moving to my left is Patrick Shelton, Vice President of Sales at Valdez. Patrick and I have known each other for a long time now, from the beginning of his career. And I will say he's been a critical part of the partnership that we at Krypton have forged with Valdez. And Patrick quickly has become one of the industry's leaders in the residential business. So we're really happy to have him.
Thanks, Jack.
Next is Greg Thomases, who has again, an interesting background where he's coming in now from two different standpoints. Greg was in charge of Swavelle, Mill Creek, and who was one of the leading converters, bringing in product from all the world. He spearheaded that effort. So looking at it from a converter standpoint, he was at the top of his games. But rather than rest in those laurels, they made the brilliant decision, as he told me, of purchasing WearBest, a mill in northern New Jersey, who has a great product called Belladora, who's one of our competitors in the performance fabric business. So Greg's got really looking at it from two vantage points, which I think will be great for our panel. To his left is Jeff Harris, who's the CEO of Frontierland South, who has, I think, Jeff, the single largest retail furniture store in the country.
Yes, sir.
And will be our go-to guy of telling us when this business is ready to recover. He's going to be at the forefront of making that happen. And I think what we see at Jeff's facility will lead us all as to where we're going in terms of the future of this business. Catherine Richardson is a Senior VP at Libaco. Catherine and I have known each other for a long time and have watched each other on panels, but have never been on one together. She has also a unique vantage point, and one of the reasons that we asked her to join us today. Libaco is one of the finest producers of high-end natural fiber product. And the other thing is in terms of where it's made in Europe, Catherine's going to be our eyes and ears as to what's going on outside of the country in the European market and how that's going to be part of the overall recovery of our market. Finally, George Jordan, who's the president of MT Companies. And George is one of the leading furniture manufacturers in the country, has a great vantage point of from the middle end of the market up to the highest end of furniture in this terrain. Also, I think George's distribution in terms of how they bring product to market is something that's really going to lend something to the panel. So those are our panelists, and I'm really happy to have all of them. The way that I'm going to structure the questions are two ways. Number one, I have general questions for everyone, and then we're going to go to specific questions for people to really look at their area of expertise and their unique positions in the market today. So question for everyone is, describe the business conditions when you walk back into your facility in the last few weeks. Patrick, let's start with you. You run one of the most diverse and largest mills in the country, and that's got to be a challenge as to how you really ease down and then ramp it back up. So what have you found over the past month?
Yeah, obviously I think like everybody else on this panel and in the industry, it's obviously been very difficult. But, when you look at our weaving operation and then, our partners throughout the world as well, it's not just our U.S. business that's being affected. We often compare it or liken it to a battleship, and it's hard to make quick turns, and it's hard to slow down quickly when you have so many moving parts that are interconnected. So as we make decisions, it's paramount that we understand any potential unintended consequences that could come from decisions that we make, from the vendors that we work with, yarn suppliers throughout the world, to our associates internally, and also our customers. So we work with so many different customers in so many different segments of the market, some of which have opened up, some have stayed open because they work in the healthcare part of the market, and they're all operating kind of on different schedules. So trying to manage our backlog and open orders and maintain shipping where customers are working so that they continue operating has certainly been challenging.
Thanks, Patrick. I'll come back to you in a little bit with some more specific questions to your business. Greg, let's talk to you and talk about how you are looking at both ends of your business, both your converter business and the mill side of the equation.
So we have a few different locations. Obviously, two of them are really at the epicenter of this pandemic right now, which is our New York office, which has been closed since March 13th. And who knows when that's going to be allowed to reopen. So we've taken everyone from New York and everyone's working remotely. And fortunately, we were kind of all prepared and set up for this technology-wise. So that has gone pretty seamlessly. Our mill is in Bergen County, New Jersey, northern New Jersey, and it has been very difficult because we've had a number of, unfortunately, some positive cases, and we've had to work around that. And right now we're operating the mill and we're up and running, but it's really only essential workers there. Management, design, none of that is at the mill. Everyone in those roles is working remotely. And then our warehouse in South Carolina is up and running, and we've been pretty much running the whole time. I think it's lucky in South Carolina. It hasn't been that bad that we haven't, had a difficult time getting our workers to come to work. So we've been fortunate with that our warehouse has been continuing to run.
Jeff, over to you. How are things going? I mean, we're talking about a little bit before we got on camera with everyone. What happens at Jeff's place at Furnitureland South is really going to be the frontline indicator of how our market is progressing as we move out of this pandemic.
Sure, Jack. Well, thanks again for having me on your panel with this distinguished group. We never completely shut our business down. These government mandates that came out, the stay-at-home orders, it very quickly, we felt the effects of that. I mean, let's face it, when you don't have consumers walking through your showrooms, it's hard to sell sofas. We don't do a lot of e-commerce business per se with the higher end goods. So it's very essential that we have people on our floors walking around with our design consultants. So, we felt that immediately, although we were still having a lot of requests for delivery, for service. And we continued to make deliveries throughout this entire time. We had a lot of our people were working remotely. We had our facilities accessible. We staggered schedules, and I was absolutely amazed at the efforts of some of our people to get in here and continue to find a way to pull some business through. I think the heart and soul of this organization and generally just the American people of wanting to find a way to get through this together really helped pull some business through in March and really in April. So when the stay-at-home mandates were lifted a couple of weeks ago in North Carolina, we saw an immediate boost. We've seen a lot of people coming in. We've done some creative things to welcome shoppers back to the campus. I think everybody's anxious to get back to it. But we have a huge tent, looks like the circus is going on in front of the big 85-foot tall high boy. And so we decided to have an outdoor. People feel a little more safe when they're outside. So we're having a tent sale with a lot of outdoor furniture. And we're also 2 or 3 times a year, we have what we call our garage sale. And so we have a lot of things that are actually outside right now for people to shop. And so we've seen a lot of activity. I'm very encouraged to get our people back on campus. I think everybody on the panel feels the same way about their business. When you step into your business and you don't see cars in the parking lots, you don't see people in your facilities, it's a punch in the gut. And so it's been great to kind of see things opening back up, and so far so good. Knock on wood, we're seeing customers, and obviously we're doing all the things that a lot of retailers are with social distancing, providing the masks, the sanitize stations, and really just, our facilities, we have always taken pride in the way we keep our facilities clean and sterile and safe environment. But our facility services team, they have stepped up and gone above and beyond to make sure that shoppers feel safe, that our employees feel safe when they come back on campus. So it's been a tough thing to go through. We had to furlough over half of our staff for about 8 or 9 days when this thing first started. But we were able to apply for the CARES Act PPP loan, which we received, and that got our people back to work. And again, we had a lot of people working remotely. We had a lot of staggered schedules, but we were able to keep our people working. And so it's been great. It's obviously tough thing to have to go through, and there's no roadmap to help anyone get through it. But we've been working with our vendors. They've been so great in helping us bounce back quickly through this thing. So I'm very optimistic and very encouraged with what I've seen over the last couple of weeks.
Right. And I'm going to talk as we go around the horn here and talk to everybody. I really want to talk to everybody about the PPE CARES Act and how it's impacted their business. Catherine, I'm not sure. I know that your business is predominantly European, and what we see on TV is probably about half true. I'm sure you have your handle on what's going on there. Can you give us an update as to what Europe looks like in terms of the pandemic versus where we are?
Sure. I think, there's positives and negatives the same way we're experiencing them here. I think they're seeing some of the same challenges we're seeing state to state, country to country in the European Union, and some of that is showing some cracks when you look at how they're dealing with border security from state to state, different kinds of regulations and opening schedules, and it's a checkerboard the same way we are. So they're pretty much managing it the same way we are. Different states have different rolling dates. Some are more strict than others, and some are much more open than others. But I think the more interesting thing to look at that we don't hear anything about is how a lot of these states or countries are looking at their numbers. And I was shocked originally that Belgium, for an example, had a very, very high morbidity rate, and did a little bit of investigation myself because that's where my company is based, and came to learn that the way that they're evaluating deaths is to err on the side of caution when taking care of that person's remains. And if they do not do a test on that deceased person, they can, or they do in nursing homes, for example, typically look at them as a COVID death. So their numbers are much higher because it allows them to dispose of those remains more safely by the government. And they don't do tests on deaths. So they have to figure one way or another, and they err on the side of estimating that they're a COVID death. So different states are evaluating their numbers much more differently than we are, and that's causing some fluctuations in numbers. That was very interesting. So I think the trends are otherwise very typical of what we're seeing state to state, that they are country to country. And a lot of them have been open rolling since March, or in various stages of some production, some closures, et cetera, as they're able to negotiate with their own governments, who is an essential company. Some work can be done at the same time, like we're seeing here. And most of the companies that I have spoken to, even in Italy, where they saw the biggest issues to begin with and closure right there in the central textiles region, we're seeing they've been open since the end of April.
In terms of your product and your company, what has been the product movement? Have you been able to get product in and out of Belgium into the States?
Yes. We're lucky in that we have a lot of differentiation with our business. So we do have a retail facing site with consumer products. We sell bed linens, accessories, rugs, that sort of thing. And so when one sector has been a little bit tougher than another, furniture has been tougher in our overall business in selling fabrics to furniture manufacturers than, let's say, the jobber, editor, fabric converter sector has been. And we've been shipping since the beginning, just slower rates than others. And the one thing that we do see is that freight is just a lot harder. There are fewer commercial flights, and UPS traditionally has used commercial flights to get transit back and forth. And since there are fewer commercial flights, there are fewer spots to get any goods, commercial goods, onto those flights. So it's taking a little bit more time. Customs is a little bit more difficult place to place, but we're seeing the Far East open again. That's not been a problem. The problem is now containers, because there aren't, again, the amount of containers coming back and forth, so they're fewer to come by.
Thank you. George, you awake over there, pal? We're ready to send a emergency barber into your house right now.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, Jack. At least it's not gray. It should be completely gray after the last 2 months.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say my hair was like pitch black before this started too. So I've really suffered a lot during this time. George, let's talk about, you're the furniture manufacturer of the group. And so some of the challenges for you have been a little bit different also. Market being canceled. What impact did that have?
We really started to see the complexity of the situation in early March. As it started to hit certain parts of the country and closures started to happen, it began to affect our backlog and obviously our work and process. So those are everything special order with our company. So once you schedule for production, you know, it's 2 weeks and out the door. But when you start to get calls on 10%, 15%, then 50% of your product that you're manufacturing, all of a sudden your customer's calling you and telling you, I can't ship it, my warehouse is closing. That was kind of the first touch of the complexities that we saw. And then we obviously closed for about 5 weeks and reopened the first week of May. But during that time, we were, you know, trying to figure things out, and having market as a potential thing happening was honestly just another thing that we couldn't have certainty on. Pretty early on, we decided that we think market was going to be a bad idea anyway because of the expenses that we all put into it and seeing no return on investment. It was honestly a blessing that was postponed because we would have spent a lot of money on very few customers. So that being said, we had built maybe 15, 20% of the products for market. At this point, now that we're back on, we finished the development of our new products. We're going to do a video. We've already filmed a video, and we're going to get it out to our customers just to create some excitement on new products that are coming through. So markets are vital. This market will obviously be very different from that standpoint, but we had a lot of great things that are coming through, and we'll continue to develop new products. I just think it's going to be a different means of how we get those products out to our customers.
Yeah.
This market and this summer for sure.
So Jeff brought up the topic that I wanted to talk about was the PPE. How it impacted your, number one, you applied for the money.
Yes.
And received it.
Correct.
And tell me how that impacted your ability to move your business forward.
You know, I mean, PPP was great. It gave us a little bit of peace of mind in knowing that when we were able to bring everybody back from the furlough, and it just allowed you to, you know, it gives you a little bit of time to figure it out. And, you know, the American businesses need that. Businesses need help as much as the individual consumer does. So it would have been very difficult without it. We would have figured out a way. The whole process of the PPP was probably what started the growth of the beard, because it was night and day, because it was basically a race. You knew they were going to run out of money quickly. So it's been very helpful for us to plan out the next 3, 6, 9 months. You know, but you know, obviously we need some kind of assurances that this virus can be contained to change the fear in the economy and the fear from the consumer. That's all. That's what we're battling from a business standpoint. Not only the, you know, the well-being, but it's the mentality has to go back to taking the fear out of the equation.
Greg, how about you with the PPP?
Yeah, we applied and we were able to get PPP funds also. And as George touched on, it was painful, exhausting. And finally, when the money came through, we were thrilled. But then there's all the questions of how can the money be used? And a lot of that is still, you know, unanswered. You know, you get an email every day from your accountants or your advisors that, you know, give you a new little explanation of it. But yeah, as George touched on, it's been tremendously helpful, allowing us to plan out for the next, you know, couple months and further into the year. And, you know, we're very thankful to be able to have it. It's just now, you know, when it comes, the 8-week period ends, you know, you're just not sure, you know, what you're supposed to actually do yet. That's the question. So, and hopefully, you know, I think George's business is a perfect example. Being shut down for as long as they were, does his 8 weeks start from when he got the money or from when he was allowed to reopen? You know, I mean, it's kind of a perfect example. We have the same thing with our New York office. We're closed. So that, profoundly affects certain workers and what we can get done. But, we've managed to work through it as best as we can.
You had to do significant furloughs also, Greg?
Yeah, unfortunately, we did do significant furloughs. Just with the slowdown of business, with market being canceled, with Showtime being canceled, we've pretty much taken our May launch for the most part and pushed it to November. We just won't have customers that'll really be buying like they normally do this season. But it's been, the furloughs are brutal, and we're still working through bringing people back.
Jeff, are you starting to bring people back as a result of the PPP money that you received?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are definitely a lot of uncertainties out there, and the guidelines seem to be a moving target, but we've had a great experience with it. And granted, let me step back and just say, we're not in the epicenter. We're not up in the Northeast where they have really been hit the hardest with this pandemic. And while it has been tremendous, the loss here in North Carolina, it hasn't been as bad as other areas. But we were able to pull together some great talent, as far as tax people, financial minds. Our banking institution was very helpful in helping us understand what to do. So we literally the next day after the funds hit our account, we brought people back. And like I said earlier, we had furloughed over half of our team. And so this was great to get our people back working, and they weren't working full 8-hour days, but we were able to stagger shifts and get a lot of stuff done. And I tell you what, our distribution center, I think our system over there, our racking system is about 20 years old, and I'm pretty sure that no one had ever gotten underneath those racks to clean them, but they're clean, right? They're as clean as they've ever been right now. So we've been keeping our people busy. We've been doing some things to prepare. But like Greg said, hey, when the funds are out and it's mid-June, what do we do? And we're building strategies around that today. One of our goals is to not have to furlough anyone come mid-June. I mean, we want to continue to work. And right now, as I said earlier, I remain encouraged. We see people that are trying to come in here. They're trying to shop. They're connecting with us online. So if we can pull some business through here in May, I'm very optimistic that we may not have to go back through the furlough. So I know there's a lot of people that are having a lot of negative impact out there, but so far, knock on wood, we remain very encouraged and optimistic that we can get through this. And it was a big deal to get those PPP funds to get our people, back working and do the things to support them.
Patrick, what was your experience at Valdez with the PPP?
Similar to what everyone's already mentioned, it's been incredibly beneficial for our group and for our team to be able to bring back all of our associates, which has been phenomenal. And like Jeff mentioned, we've been trying to keep everybody busy, trying to stagger shifts and trying to enforce social distancing and all of those things to make sure that we're not aiding in the spread of the virus. But we're doing a lot of cross training and helping people become more proficient in other jobs and cleaning. And as various retailers open back up and various furniture manufacturers are starting to open back up, we're seeing week over week increases in our business, which allows for, as we have people in our facility, to be able to ramp our production back up to fill the needs of our customers. So it's been a blessing. It's not come without its difficulties and trying to understand the intricacies and nuances, but our team's done a fantastic job, and it's certainly been helpful with all the uncertainty to be able to kind of step back and derive a plan for moving forward.
Catherine, with you, based on the fact that you're in Europe, was there anything available to you from a business standpoint in order to try and bridge the gap between now and getting on the other side of normal?
I think that's a really good question for us. Thanks for asking, Jack. I think it brings up the challenge that we're facing as a European supplier, wholesale supplier, because as the retailer asks for extended terms, the manufacturer then asks for extended terms, and then it comes back to us as a fabric supplier or one of the component pieces to extend payment terms. And that is really challenging for a cash flow perspective. And so we've been working with our customers on trying to do what we can and manage our cash flow. Our office in New York is 7 people, and we are based in New York and affiliated in New York. So we do have some ability to apply for some funding for that office, but 7 people in the scope of a larger organization of 250 is small. So it's definitely been a challenge. The government in Europe obviously works very differently, and there are quite a bit of subsidies for organizations in that respect. So they take advantage of that. Negotiating with the labor unions is probably the downside to that, where it's a lot more challenging to balance what people will do versus what we can get them paid for from the government. And luckily enough, we have quite a bit of volunteerism happening to be able to get done what we've gotten done. So that's probably the case with a lot of different companies out there.
Great. Terrific. Thank you. So this question is a little more general to, I guess, maybe everyone, but or maybe might even be everyone except for you, Jeff, on this one. You may escape the wrath. All of us have a traditional sales force where we're going out and having our reps call on people. And right now, there's nobody to call on. So George, let's start with you. You have furniture reps around the country.
Yes.
When do you expect that they will be able to get back to their jobs of going in and visiting with the buyers at furniture retail stores?
It varies by region. So we have 15 sales representatives around the country. Some, well, I would say all of them are in communication. Some of it be Zoom calls like this, or simply over the phone. Obviously it's going to be dependent on store openings to be able to do that. So it's going to come in waves. And one of the things that we try to do is to be more resourceful. We filmed training videos last week that we'll get out to our sales reps to talk about the company, the history of the company, our collections, the specifics of those things, so they can pass those kind of training videos on to their customers while, remote learning is the norm. But it's certainly been challenging, and we have a great sales team, and they are experiencing the same level of cabin fever as everybody else because they're on the road, 3, 4, 5 days a week. So it's been a big change for them, and certainly challenging as they are commission-based salespeople.
Yeah.
The factory's closed for 5 weeks. I don't care what percentage is, I'll multiply by 0 sales, it's 0.
Yeah.
So they've had a really, really tough experience going forward. But, it's our hope that some of them are up and running now, and it's going to follow the opening trends of each government or each state's.
Greg, how about you? Same question. How are your people, salespeople? What is their experience today, and how are they, keeping busy and staying in touch with their customer?
Yeah, so what we've been focusing on is really just, as you said, is staying in touch with our customer. Whether it's Zoom calls or phone calls or texting or emails, we've used these last 9 weeks to, really just try and stay in touch with them. And as, states start to open and businesses start to open, and then, people are wanting to look at fabric or talk about fabric, we'll have to do things differently. We're preparing right now some, digital presentations, and because we know most of our salespeople might not step foot in their customer stores, or if they do, it might be just a very different presentation. So we're trying to prepare for all fronts, whether it's, in person or whether it's, remotely selling. If we have to send a box of samples to George because he doesn't want, our sales reps in his place, we have to respect that, and we'll do that. And, as someone else just touched on, George just touched on, we have to, adhere to each state and each company's wishes. So if we're in Indiana or New York or Florida, California, North Carolina, it's all going to be a little different.
Yeah. Patrick, to you, same question. How are you guys approaching this new market?
All things considered, I think they've done a phenomenal job. Obviously, like everyone else, we've encouraged them to be very compassionate and very respectful as everyone, kind of handles these types of situations a little bit differently, and every state has its own rules and regulations. But we're actively developing a digital rollout or virtual rollout for customers that don't want sales reps, in their facility to show new product, but also a road set, because I think there are a high number of customers that, as things open up, they will want to see new products and new fabrics. But we're trying to understand in coordination with them and what they're hearing from their customers, because like Greg mentioned and like George mentioned, we're trying to stay in constant communication with each customer. And if they want to talk about specific opportunities or specific introductions with their company, then we're there to listen and react accordingly. But we're trying to understand the impact of what not having a market is going to mean on new product introductions, and how much open to buy, so to speak, or new fabrics that someone like George is going to want for the next couple months and going into October market. So there are a lot of variables and a lot of things on the table, but ultimately I'm just trying to stay in touch. And I think everyone has become a little bit more familiar and been forced to adopt either Zoom or Google video trainings and things like that. So we've been staying in constant touch, and when everyone's ready in any way that they want to work, we'll be ready.
Catherine, how about you? What is your experience in that? Same kind of thing in terms of access to your customers?
Mm-hmm. I think not having the furniture market and Showtime, the fabric show, was the right decision. But it does immediately, as you can hear from the other panelists, affect what we as suppliers are able to sell 6 months out of this year, full stop. People are either not buying again for the fall if they had bought for spring, because they're just going to transition that product to the next market, or they're going to buy much, much lesser amounts for the fall, knowing that their consumer or customer has not come back in full. And just because we turn the business back on again and we're fully up and running doesn't mean that we have the business to, continue at the same level that we are at. So the furloughs really are rolling to see where that business is coming back and how we can hire back incrementally to support that business and not be in a risky situation. But I think it has identified for our industry, not just for us, that we still are a very tactile industry, and the demand for being in front of your customer is important. And we're doing things to capitalize on attention that we may have, or customers who might still want to see us in person, but finding ways to work around this lack of in-person contact has shown us, I think, that it is important, that connection. So when it does come back, I don't think that this industry will stay totally digital. I think it will go back to stressing the importance of being in front of one another to do business. So to answer that, I think it's important to have that fix for now and to complement what kind of business that we do on a regular basis. But I think it's a complement. I don't think it's ever going to replace that one-on-one, face-to-face interaction. So just adding what we can add to supplement, hopefully, that near-term getting back in front of people again in some way, shape, or form.
Which we're all looking forward to. Yeah. Jeff, to you, the people who are buying, what access are you giving? Do you anticipate your people will give to suppliers?
Well, I was really excited to hear Catherine's words there, because obviously with 1.3 million square feet of showroom space for our customers to shop in, we believe it's a very tactile industry as well. And we don't see this thing completely going digital either. It's all about the experience. I mean, we've already been allowing vendors and reps and other people to come on our campus. We have actually, we have a sales team of about 150 design consultants, and I think a lot of you have been in that room on Monday mornings. Is the way we start our week every week, with about 200 people in that room. And it's part motivation, it's part housekeeping, and it's also, we have a vendor of the week. And in the last couple of weeks, we've had a vendor involved. This morning it was Row Furniture, and they were actually doing it on a Zoom call remotely. But the week before, we had our friends from Wesley Hall there, and they were physically in our sales education center. So we've been allowing the people to come in, as they feel comfortable to do so. And, as I said earlier, we're doing all the things we can possibly do to make anyone that's on our campus feel safe. As you mentioned earlier, with 1.3 million square feet, there's plenty of space for social distancing here. When you look at people going into Costco or Target or going into a Sheetz to get their gas and whatever, those environments are much more difficult to feel safe in than the environment that we've created here. So, we're doing the things, but we're inviting people in. We've seen a huge uptick with people on our website, but they're also saying, "Hey, are you open? Can we come shop? Can I book an appointment?" So we're certainly making that available for them, and we're doing all the things that we can possibly do to make them feel safe when they come in here.
That's encouraging on a couple of levels. Number one is that you're allowing vendors in to solicit business, either virtually or in person. And any of you guys who have been in that arena with 175 to 200 people, it's an intimidating presentation, but a great opportunity to get to a cross section of Jeff's people. So I'd push, if you can get in there, try and do it. It'll be well worth your while.
And I can't wait until that time comes when we can have that room full again. We've been shooting it with 9 people in that room, just doing a Zoom call. So I can't wait when we can gather in groups larger than 10.
Oh, that's great. So you were mentioning about e-commerce and virtual, and it's not a big part of your business right now.
Yeah.
Do you expect that it will become a greater part of your business?
I think that's going to continue to evolve. I think ultimately, you look at the generation of the people that are in their 20s, they buy everything online. And I think as that group gains, they make more money, they're going to want to spend that money on furnishings online. So it is something that we continue to build towards. We continue to use our website for engagement, for information, for inspiration. We put up video bios of every single design consultant so that we give the customer the ability to choose who they want to work with and help them through this process. But I think we're so much more in a service business than we are a commodity business with what we do at Furnitureland. And I think people are more apt to go online and point, click, and buy a $500 sofa than they are a $5,000 sofa. And we like to sell the $5,000 sofas. We don't sell many $500 sofas here, although you can find them. But we just feel like people want the entire look. They want someone to help them. They come in and they've been on Houzz, they've been on Pinterest, and they've built these lookbooks, and they want their room, their home, to look like these files that they've created, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to pull it off. With all the accessories and the wonderful fabrics and textures and weaving in rugs and lighting. And that's what we do better than anyone. And so I think there's always going to be technology that helps expedite this. We see that clients are coming in to our facilities armed with more information than ever before. And so when they do get here, the time that they spend in the showroom is not quite as long. They're more focused. They've seen things online that they just want to see how it is. What's the scale? What's the comfort? What are the options? So they're starting their experience online, but we continue to see the desire to be here, to touch it, to feel it, to sit on it, and to see what other options are. So we continue to, we love our website. We'll continue to advance it. We'd love to be able to sell things online. But we continue to use that mainly to get that level of engagement with our clients, to get them interested in and invite them to come in and experience what we can do, when they are here on our campus.
So George, to follow up on Jeff's point, so you're the next one in line in terms of the distribution chain, making furniture to get to retail. How do you see it? Or do you see e-commerce becoming a bigger part of what you do in the next few years?
Well, we don't sell directly to the consumer. So typically our website is a way where if someone goes to Furnitureland South, is unaware of our brand, one of Jeff's sales associates shows them some of our products. I think they go to our website to validate who we are as a company. So if our website is representative of the quality of the furniture that we have, it's kind of a moment where they're like, okay, this is a legitimate company, and I feel really good about the purchase at Furnitureland South. With that being said, we are developing better tools for Jeff to be able to use, he and his salespeople, and make our website more friendly with more information about the company, about our products, all the tools that are out there. So we're actively engaged in pursuing those things on our website. So as far as e-commerce goes, I think it's naive to think that there won't be more e-commerce. It's a growing category for every single thing. But it is a tactile thing. I mean, our sofas sit differently than other manufacturer sofas, I'd like to say. I think better than most. And you can take my word for it, or you can look at our website and it's a beautiful image, but you do need to ultimately sit on the piece of furniture to confirm that sale. So our goal is to make our website as friendly and as fast as possible to be able to come to an educated decision, which is what Jeff alluded to. People are more informed about products than they've ever been when they do show up at a retail store. So we have to do our part to help our retailers have all those tools in place.
To the fabric guys, question in terms of with Greg and with Patrick, you both are really promoting brands with Wear Best with Belladura, and with Valdez with Inside Out and Krypton Home. I have to mention. I'm not supposed to mention the home team, but there we are. Do you feel like the world now, the new world, the new world order is more likely to be looking for performance fabrics? And how do you position your individual, the characteristics of your fabrics to try and address today's market conditions? Greg, let's start with you.
So we, as you mentioned earlier in the introductions, we made the acquisition of Wear Best and Belladura a little over a year ago, because at the time we saw the demand and the need for not just performance, but also domestic production. And those were two of the main reasons we did it. Coming out of this, we definitely believe performance will be even more prevalent and more important. How it translates to the consumer and Jeff's customer, I think none of us are quite sure yet. They want performance, but what does that mean? It means something different to everybody. Whether it's double rubs or cleanability, or what kind of cleanability is it? Is it soap and water? Is it bleach? But I think it's still a little confusing to everybody, but we believe that the performance attribute and the need for it is going to continue to grow.
Patrick?
Yeah, look, I absolutely agree with Greg. Performance is the fastest growing category in our company now. We believe that we offer our customers an unmatched level of choice, regardless of what performance means to them and what type of lifestyle that they choose to live and what characteristics and requirements that they have out of their fabric. So whether it's Krypton Home or Inside Out, we want to make sure that we're providing the customer with a decorative and beautiful fabric option that's also going to stand up and perform to whatever lifestyle they choose to live. But through all of this, we've seen and continued to see a lot a lot of just uncertainty and confusion around the general term performance, and it's at all levels of the market. So when you start talking about different performance brands, I think it's critical to educate and identify why yours is different and what makes it special. So, we don't sell to the consumer either, but somewhat as George was saying, trying to provide assets and education to retailers like Furnitureland South so that their sales associates can then, convey this product against this product and this product so that the customer can have a positive experience on the back end. We're taking that very seriously in terms of creating what is performance, in terms of a video, and what is cleaning, and what is the difference between soap and water and bleach, and all of these different things, just to provide a level of comfort when someone does specify a performance fabric, that ultimately they're going to get something that's going to do what they expect it to do. So it is kind of a black hole, and does mean different things to different people, as Greg alluded to. So we believe it's our responsibility to help provide tools and information so that our customers and our customers' customers can appropriately convey what our brand stands for.
Catherine, you have a story also with sustainability. How do you feel that the sustainable story in an ongoing basis is going to help not only your company, but the industry as a whole? How will that play from where it was 6 months ago to where it'll be 6 months in the future?
Yeah, I think just in general, sustainability has been growing over the years. And I think we're seeing more interest now because people are much more aware of health and what is in their home environments, and to work with reputable fabric companies and know brands that they can count on, of not applying toxic finishes or things that are banned in the US or banned in Europe, is really an important selection criteria that buyers should be educated about. So I'm with Patrick. I think education is our number one mission out there now, not only educating about natural fibers and how to care for them, which I think there's a lot of misinformation or misunderstanding about, but also finishes and how they affect your health potentially if you're not careful about what brands you choose and about what chemistry you choose. So the sustainability story for me really goes back to an expectation, setting an expectation correctly, and helping people understand that there are alternatives out there that don't negatively affect their environments, that they can choose for easy care. And it just is a little bit of understanding of how that care should be done. And natural fibers were, one of the oldest fabrics known to man. So aside from leather, they're great choices for perennial use and long-term, heirloom quality in your furniture and in your homes.
Great. Thank you. So we have about 7 minutes left, and we've covered a lot of ground here. And there's one question I have for each of you that I wanted to go around the horn with. We've all made a lot of decisions over the past couple months that are going to have short and long-term impacts in our business. What is the one, this is a bad question, but I've always used this in the past and found it pretty insightful. What is the one thing that you would have done differently if you could? Either a wrong decision that you made or a right decision that took you too long to make? Jeff, start with you.
Wow, that's a tough question. Maybe the one thing that I wish anyone could have done is to contain this virus in Wuhan. So maybe I shouldn't say that, but now that we have had it, we've had to deal with it. The one thing that I don't know, Jack, that there's anything that I wish that I could have done differently. This thing was not like, what do you do week by week? It's what do you do hour by hour? The news was coming in so rapidly, I think everybody was in shock. So looking back on it, honestly, I wouldn't say that there's anything that I wish we could have done differently. I was just incredibly encouraged with the teamwork that our associates displayed, and they're so supportive and understanding. Listen, when we had to lay off or furlough half of our staff, that was a punch to the gut for me, our family, our team. I mean, these are people that have been on our staff for years. you know, they're like family. And so I wish we wouldn't have had to do that, but you know, we got them back to work quickly. And I've just been encouraged with not just the people that work with our team as employees, but also all the vendors have been so supportive throughout this. They've offered, hey, what can we do? Well, they've brought us quick ship programs. They've given us additional discounts to pass along to customers. Anything that we can do to kind of jumpstart this business. So probably not the answer you're looking for. You know, I tend not to look too far back. I continue to look forward, and I don't really. There's nothing that really glares out at me that says, "Man, I wish I would have done that differently."
How about you, Greg?
So we have a trading company in China and suppliers in Italy. And, you know, we were hearing directly, personally from people there warning us how bad it was going to be and that we should be prepared, and not even pointing fingers at government or anything like that. Just on a business standpoint, we kind of ignored them. We didn't really listen. And I think that goes for probably most people in America. So when, you know, just as an example, the first week of March, I was on an airplane and, you know, my wife's telling me to wear a face mask, and I'm like, a face mask on an airplane? What are you talking, you know? And then 5 days later, we're preparing to close down our New York office. So as Jeff just touched on, it moved so quickly and it was so rapid, that, you know, I think we could have been, you know, we could have listened more to our partners. And also on top of that, what we did in reaction to the crisis is we started weaving PPE fabric at our facility in New Jersey. I wish we had sort of jumped on it a little sooner than we did. It was probably, you know, the third week of March by the time we actually really got into it. You know, I wish it was in February that we started talking about the shortages. It was in the news. You know, we knew there were already shortages because they were talking about, you know, shipments being held from China at the time. Yeah. So I think those are two things that I wish we had done a little differently.
Patrick, how about you?
Yeah, you know, similar to Greg, I think being able to provide more fabrics for various, you know, PPE in uses, whether it's for gowns or masks or different things like that. You know, we were able to develop them and supply and provide them, but, you know, getting an understanding of what the requirements are and how to produce them so that they are appropriate. You know, it just took a little bit of time. So if we could have done that sooner, that would have been great. But, you know, one thing I think we did well, you know, we had established a continuing education unit and class for a lot of our customers to help educate and train. So we had various videos, but, you know, based on people working from home and seeking to learn and understand in some of their free time, you know, with some of the differences in performance and furniture and anything else, just based on the reaction that we've received from our customers and consumers and designers that are wanting to learn and interact with our brands. I wish we had a little bit more of that available and would have started a little bit sooner. But other than that, yeah, I think that's it.
Catherine, how about you? And I think we only have a few minutes left. I hope they don't cut us off, but how about you, Catherine?
I just think we're all relatively lucky in this scenario, believe it or not, because we still are considered smaller businesses, and smaller businesses tend to be able to be more nimble. And in situations like this, we can change and morph more quickly to meet whatever demands are in front of us. And I think it all sounds like we were able to do that, all of us. I'm with Jeff. I don't like looking backwards to say, oh, I should have, could have, other than for potentially what you can improve. And I think because this is changing on a day-to-day basis, that's really, really difficult. You have to take it immediately day by day and then make your decision based on what's happening at the moment. I think the only thing that, you know, as an industry, I wish we would have possibly done is act more quickly in a more unified way to close down, get rid of it all at once instead of this rolling, you know, open, close, which I think is going to stick with us for the next, unfortunately, longer period of time.
I think that's a great point. George, to you, other than reading one of those books behind you, what other decision are you sad that you made?
I'm going to start on my first book today, Jack. You know, I think we were out on it early. which in a way, because the news was changing so quickly, caused us to make so many changes internally that it looks like you're waffling and changing directions when in reality you're just reacting to 1,000 different things that are changing. So, you know, I wish we could have conveyed one story to our customers and our employees one time, but unfortunately that narrative changed multiple times over. So I almost felt like we were a bit indecisive when in reality we're incredibly decisive. But when the tenor of the news changes on a weekly basis, I think it just led to some confusion. And that, you know, that's just the way it is. Like everybody else, I wish I had done a lot of these projects a year in advance, as far as having more information for our customers about our products. But it's certainly been the push that we needed to be a better company in the very, very near future. So, and that's all we can ask for.
Right.
That's, you have to take this something positive out of this.
Guys, it's been an hour. It's been a quick hour. I wish we had more time. I'm not sure if they're going to come and pull us off of this thing or
Jack,
not.
there are a couple of questions in the Q&A and in the chat. I don't know if you guys want to address those.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I actually have written some of these down. I guess the first question that we'd want answered would be to Jeff. Since people are more comfortable being outside with the pandemic going on, do you feel like the sector of outdoor furniture will grow because of that?
We're already seeing it, and maybe that's because we put a big tent up in front of our high boy, you know, but obviously we're seeing a lot of people that are interested in coming to shop for outdoor furniture. We're seeing that. It just so happens that we renovated about a 35,000 square foot new outdoor space last year. And so we're loaded for bear and ready for that category. And we saw an immediate jump when we did that last year. So I think people are ready. It seems like Mother Nature has no idea this pandemic's going on. The weather we've had the past month or so has been tremendous, especially here in the Carolinas. So, but yes, the short answer is I see that category continuing to get momentum and to grow.
Okay. I guess the next question would be to anybody on the panel. Someone wanted to know, how do we really feel market will happen in October? What's our feeling on that? Anybody want to tackle that one?
We're planning on having a market in October. You know, we're developing more product than we've ever developed right now. So we're either going to show it in person or virtually. So it is my great hope that absolutely market will happen. And if it's in a different structure, then so be it. But the industry needs it.
Yeah, definitely. There has been some interest, Jack, with Krypton. There are people that want to know what's going on with your business and how your business has been affected with your vendors, distribution, etc.
Yeah, we have two businesses. Number one, we have Krypton, and then we bought, based on Greg's lead, we bought a mill in North Carolina, Abercrombie Textiles. So we've got two businesses that have run. We've stayed open the whole time. I'm not going to tell you our businesses what it was last year or even 3 months ago, but we did some furloughs. We were not able, based on the fact that we have private equity ownership, we were not able to apply for any of the PPP funds. So we're doing it out of cash flow. We've been pretty lucky. I think we've done a good job managing. I think the good part for Krypton as a company is that we are balanced. I mean, we have a fabric converting business, we have a finishing business, and now all of a sudden we have a disinfectant business, a product that we've had around for probably 15 years that all of a sudden is becoming a really strong demand in the marketplace. So we've been coming back a little bit at a time. Furniture is a big part of our business. And as you guys have alluded to, as those people are moving up, it's happening pretty quickly. Our distributor business, I think, is going to be a little bit slower coming back. And the finishing business, I think, will come back fairly quickly. So we're optimistic for a short-term recovery. We're hoping in the next few months, our business is back to whatever new normal is going to be. And I think we're in a position based on people's need for not only just fabrics that I think performance is being redefined. It's now not just cleaning. It's going to become, has to be clean. It has to be wellness fabric. It has to be healthy. And I think those are all the type of things that we as a company are able to service. And I think we're in a good position to come out of this as good as anybody in the marketplace. That's my ad for the day. I tried to stop doing that, but you had to ask, Helen. It was good.
They were asking. And then the next question would be, what sectors in furniture, fabrics, accessories, etc., are doing well right now other than outdoor? I don't know.
Jeff, can you help us with that?
You know, we continue to see, you know, upholstery sales are very strong. You know, if you look at it, you know, bedroom and upholstery living rooms they lead the pack. But we've also seen an uptick in lighting, accessories, rugs, things that are, you know, easily shoppable online. Those are all growth categories for us as well. So, I mean, across the board, if you've ever been to our store, you know that we have a little something for everyone and quite an assortment of different products. But I still see a lot of strength in custom upholstery.
And Kelly, I'll jump in on that too, because in addition to selling more and getting more inquiries on indoor outdoor fabrics that we sell, just from the supplier side, on the consumer side, we're seeing a much stronger marketplace now on pillows and bed linens. I think it's where people are spending a lot more time and obviously are a lot easier to ship. So we're seeing that.
Very good.
I think it's probably a good time to be in the paint business as you walk around your house and you find all the little things that are wrong. And that in the next month or so, if you haven't started already fixing them, you're going to. So I think that's going to be part of the consumer spending also.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Well, I think, I'm sorry, what?
No, is that it for the questions?
Pretty much, yes. So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us. I'd like to thank our panelists again for giving their time today to give their opinions and help everybody kind of get a better understanding as to what we are looking forward to in our next phase of the new normal moving forward. So hope everybody has a great day, and thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys. I owe you all one. I'm sure you'll collect.
You were great.
Thank you all.
Talk
Thank
to
you
you
guys.
soon. Bye, guys.
Absolutely.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Right.